Hi everybody, and welcome to another I Get It Live session. Today we're going to be looking at the SOLIDWORKS Animation Wizard and basically show you a few different ways to make some simple and quick animations using your SOLIDWORKS models. I'm James Keller. I'm an instructional designer and SOLIDWORKS certified expert here at I Get It. And today I'm just going to take you through a couple different things I've learned with the Animation Wizard over the years. Should only take about 20 or 30 minutes. So in this lesson, I'm going to show you how to set up and display your models so they look as realistic as possible to start off with. This is fairly simple stuff. It's like adding color and decals to your model along with some display styles. Next, I'm going to show you how to animate a rotation of a product or a model, in this case a detergent bottle. This is one of the most simple animations you can create with the Rotation Wizard and can do it with almost any model. Next, I'm going to show you how to create an assembly explode. So that's basically animating your assembly explodes, which you can do within explode configurations themselves. But this is just done through the Animation Wizard and also gives you a few other abilities with that because it's the Animation Wizard. And you're also going to see you can render your animations using PhotoView 360. Basically, you can save off your animations using the PhotoView renderer to save them, and it may take some time depending on the resources of your computer, but you end up with some pretty cool images. This little video I created by saving as an MP4, and then for this PowerPoint I just converted it to a GIF, so it works no problem. So without any further delay, let's go ahead and get started. I'll go ahead and close out my PowerPoint here and jump into SOLIDWORKS. And I'm just going to hit R on my keyboard to bring up some recent files. And we've got our detergent bottle here. So we're going to start with this model. And basically all I want to do is a rotating view around this model just to kind of display it, almost like it was a marketing shot. So to start off, I'm just going to go ahead and show you that I've added a few different appearances to the bottle. I've added some blue plastic color for the main body. Then I added some white color to just the faces here to create the labels. And then I went in and added some custom decals using just some transparent images here to create my labels. So I've got one for the tiger and one for the logo on each side. So that's how I started off, getting it to look like a real product, basically making it look like something you might be familiar with. This is the detergent bottle. So the next step is you can go into the view settings drop down here and apply a few different things to change the way your model looks. The first option here is real view graphics. If you're familiar with it, it just adds some lighting and some surface complexity to your materials and makes things look a little bit more realistic, and depending on the settings you have associated with it, can have ground reflections and all kinds of different more realistic looking things. Along with real view graphics, we've got shadows and shaded mode, and this option will now cast a shadow using the lights that I've defined up here in the lights seen in cameras options. So here they are, just an ambient and a directional light, keeping things simple. All right, so basically that's the way I got the model to look kind of semi-realistic here. Next thing we want to do is activate perspective. Now this is probably one of the things that makes your models look most realistic once you add that, because if you render something without perspective, it always looks a little bit fake. So make sure you guys do perspective. Probably the most important thing out of all these options. Don't have to have real view graphics on for some of the other options to work as well. We'll just keep perspective going for now. All right, so the Animation Wizard can be found in the Motion Study tab here at the bottom of each model. Okay, so you don't actually have to activate SOLIDWORKS Motion for this to work. So you can just go to the Motion Study tab, If one doesn't exist or one you want to create a new one, you can just right click and do create new motion study to get a new one. So now we've got this timeline interface down here. All right, and this will be what's populated automatically by the different key points, which are these triangles, and the move lines that connect the two key points or connect multiple key points. So let's go ahead and just jump right into it. This is the option for the Animation Wizard here. It's the little wand with the camera. We'll go ahead and click on it. And based on this model, the only thing I can do right now in the Animation Wizard is rotate the model. If it was an assembly with an explode configuration, I'd be able to explode or collapse it. Import motion options here are not something we're going to look at today. Same with make controller. These are a little bit more advanced things, and you can understand a little bit more about what they do here in the explanations. But we will look at a solar access study. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate the model. I'm going to click Next. We have the option to go about the X, Y, and Z axes, choose the number of rotations, and whether or not we want to go counterclockwise or clockwise. And I will just do clockwise, one rotation for this guy, and we'll just use the default duration of 10 seconds and the start time of 0 seconds, meaning the rotation will start immediately. So I'll go ahead and click Finish, and it's created automatically for me. Down here I can zoom to fit my timeline, or positive and negative zoom to timeline. Now we can see that full 10-minute or 10-second rotation is already created, and I don't have to do any kind of calculation. It's already ready to go, so I'll just choose Play from Start. And we can see that, well, it's rotating, but it's not really rotating accurately. It's because I didn't change the view to the beginning view I wanted before I started. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. I can just slide this timeline bar here along the existing timeline to view what I've got so far. And I'm just going to snap this back to 0. You can also double click a spot on the ruler here to go straight to it. And I'm going to redo this. So first off, I want to make sure that I have auto key pressed down, okay, depressed, active, because what this does is automatically change the key for the viewing orientation whenever I move the model at a given spot on the timeline. So if I were to go to 1 and move the model here, you could see that it automatically created a key point there based on how I move the model. So I'm just going to hit undo to get rid of that key point. Doesn't really matter at this point. And I'm going to go back to 0, and I'm going to ensure also that disable view key creation is also unchecked or untoggled here. If I can have auto key down and with disable view key creation also enabled, that does not change or automatically create a key. So got to have both those down to have this type of behavior. And unchecking those options can make it easy to avoid making accidental changes to your animations down the line. So knowing when to use those options and when not to is going to be up to personal preference. All right, so I'm at 0. I'm just going to go ahead and make sure I use a front view here to start off with. Okay? And now this is not applying any kind of perspective either, so I want to make sure I go turn on my perspective. Now it's starting to look a little bit more realistic. I'm getting my viewport there about centered. Now I'm going to go ahead and go back and use my Animation Wizard to do the same thing. But this time I'm going to check delete all existing paths to make sure I overwrite all the viewpoints and move lines that were created in the last one. So I'm going to use the same settings, click Finish, and voila. Now the bottle rotates much more as expected. And if I think 10 seconds is too long a rotation, I can always view it faster down here. or slower, whichever's needed. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and keep this rotation as defined, and we'll just slide to the end of our 10 seconds there. And I'm just going to hit the arrow key down once. And since I want this to be a loop, I'm going to go back to 1 second and hit the arrow key down once so I can make the exact same movement. And now, with auto key enabled, you can see that has been adjusted. So it's rotating and then kind of pitching there at the end. So that just shows that you can modify whatever the animation wizard spits out. I could go in here and add more key points to add more warbliness to the rotation if I wanted, or modify in the existing key points. If I took these guys and changed their positions, for example, it would rotate faster at that point. Let's see how yep. Now it's going slower, back to fast. So you can modify whatever the animation spits out and kind of make it your own. All right, so I'm just going to stop the animation, undo some of those changes that I made. I'm going to come back and look at this animation again here after we look at a few other options. All right, that's exactly what I wanted. All right, we'll go ahead and just save that. All right, so that's basically how you animate a rotation, one of the most simple options for the animation wizard. Let's go ahead and get into a exploded view. So I'm going to hit R on my keyboard to open up a recent assembly. And you can see here that a exploded view already exists in the part. And this has to be present for the explode animation to work. So I'll go ahead and jump straight in the motion study. And then I'm going to go ahead and go into perspective. Add a little perspective there. Maybe zoom in on the model just a hair. And I think I'm at a good starting point. So I will activate my animation wizard, and we're going to animate an explode in this case. I could do a collapse if I wanted, but we're just going to do an explode. We'll keep the duration at 6 seconds. We'll change that, and we'll start it at 1 second. And then I'll click finish. All right. So you can see down here that all the relevant keyframes and move lines have been added by the wizard automatically to create all the motion we need for this explode. And I'll go ahead and click calculate, because unless you have the bar appear as yellow throughout the entire sequence, however long it is, it hasn't yet actually been solved. So calculate that, and we should be golden. Now you may notice that the zoom changes a little bit when you use a perspective view during the explode. So it can end up looking a little weird. If I speed this up, it's a little bit more prominent. You can see how it kind of zooms in and out a little bit as it goes, explodes and collapses. But still looks pretty cool. So I'll go ahead and move my bar, let's see here, to the end, and we're going to make one last change there, just like we did last time in the last model. Going to make sure disable view key creation is not toggled. I'm just going to do a little rotate, and then we'll start that back over from the beginning. And you can kind of see now that that little rotation is incorporated into the explode as well. All right. We'll come back and look at how to save both this animation and the rotation animation here shortly. I just want to go to the third example real quick. That is going to be a solar study. So again, I'm going to jump into my recent models. And I've got this deck model here And I want to see how effective this pergola here is going to be to actually block sun. So I have entered some light data using sunlight. So if you go into lights here, right click and choose add sunlight. It doesn't give me the option now because it already exists. But you'll be able to add sunlight to your model and define where in the world you'd like that sunlight to be respective of, and what time of day you'd like it to be respective of, and you can generate realistic sunlight for any given date or time. So we're going to use that to create a solar study to see how effective this pergola design is, whether these pieces of wood are spaced well or tall enough to effectively block any sun. So I've got the sunlight set up how I'd like, and the next step is to go into my motion study and create the solar study. So I think I've already got perspective active as well, and I'm just going to jump right into the Animation Wizard. And we can see that the solar axis study option is available. We'll go ahead and toggle that. It looks like there might be an existing study already, so I'm going to go ahead and delete existing paths and choose next. And I'm going to choose fixed date variable time. So I know that the sun will be its steepest in the sky on the summer equinox. And so I'll just look at that day of the year and see how effective it is. Any day other than that day of the year should have a steeper angle or a shallower angle of sun. So shadows should work no problem within that range. So we're going to go ahead and check that option. Do next. It looks like I've already selected that date. I think it's the 26th of June for 2022. This represents my time zone. And instead of doing a study from sunrise to sunset, because I don't really care about how much sun there is in the morning, only how much sun there is during the hot hours of the afternoon, I'll specify a range and choose 11 a.m. to, let's go with 8 p.m. Maybe 8:30 p.m. It's well past sunset. And I will click next. We'll do a duration of 15 seconds just to get a good option. And we'll do the start time at 0 seconds and click finish. All right. I can go ahead and click calculate if I want, and we'll see how it runs through the study. All right, and you can see now, you can definitely see some light changing in the model, but what I haven't done is check the options to view more realistically and, more importantly, shadows. So now I can see the shadows that are cast by my pergola design up here on my deck. So we'll go ahead and go through that one more time, and we can see that, in fact, this pergola design doesn't do a great job of blocking a whole lot of sun as it's positioned. So a redesign might be in order here. And thanks to the solar axis study, I've been able to prove that. All right. So there are the three really powerful things I think you can do with the SOLIDWORKS Animation Wizard. And once you create your animations, you have the ability to save them out. So in a few different ways. So let's go ahead and go back to our bottle animation. All right. So we can see that we have real view toggled for this option now as well. I don't think I need that for this animation, so we'll turn that off along with shadows. But It doesn't matter because I'm going to be using photo view to render this out. So if I go down here and choose the Save Animation option, okay, I can choose to save out the animation as several different types of video files. AVI being one of the more popular. Personally, I like MP4. It's a little bit more, flexible as far as compatibility. And then you can even do like a series of static images based on your frame rate here. So there are a lot of different save options for you. So I've got mine set to basically the ratio of this window. I don't think I really want that. I'm going to go ahead and choose a high def video format, 16:9. And you can see that the camera space changes for you there. So you can make sure everything's set up as desired. Frames per second. Human eye is not too good at detecting anything past 30 frames per second. That's the standard. So we'll go ahead and choose 30. And I'm going to choose an MP4 here. And we'll call this detergent bottle and just save it to a regular file location here. And we'll choose save. All right, you can see it process out the save for each frame there. As it's going through the animation. And what's great about this one is that you can basically set it on a loop, and you can just loop that animation indefinitely, which is how I got that GIF that we saw at the beginning of this presentation. All right, now my animation is done, and I can go ahead and look and see here. We'll try to find that guy. And you can see the animation was saved out successfully. And I can play that as many times as I need to. All right, let's just go ahead and exit out of this. That was an animation saved using basically the graphics settings as they're defined. If I had added real view graphics or shaded or shadows, those would have also been in the animation. Now, we want the best animation possible for this bottle, so I think we actually want to do a photo view 360 rendering for it. So under add-ins, want to make sure photo view 360 is toggled. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and do a quick preview window just to make sure that it looks how I want it to. And it looks pretty much how I'd like it to. Got some shadows, some reflections on the ground. So I think I'm good to go. All right. I actually might back out just a little bit, just to give it a little bit more space to show some reflections. All right. And want to actually start. And then rerun my animation wizard one last time, using all the same options. And just double check it. All right, looks pretty good. So we'll go ahead and stop it, go into Save Animation, and this time I'm going to choose to save out as an MP4, and instead of rendering with the SOLIDWORKS screen, I'm going to choose Photo View 360. All right? And just as before, I'll make sure I do HD TV format, and we'll do 30 frames per second. And I will go make sure that this is in the place we want it to be. And click Save. And you can see the Photo View Animation Progress dialog pops up and lets you know how many frames of the, in this case, 301 frames are actually being created and rendered. So this can take quite a while depending on your computer capabilities. So I'm just going to go ahead and cancel this one because we don't have time to sit here. And I will show you the result of that Photo View 360 rendering. And there it is. lighting looks much more realistic. You can see the definition in the plastic a little bit better. And if I set this on a loop, it would just go over and over and over again. So, yeah. Let's see if we could click repeat there. And in this case, it just shows you the bottle rotate over and over. And now I was able to use this for several different things, including the social post gift for this course, this live session. So you can use SOLIDWORKS animations to create all kinds of stuff. Go ahead and close this. And much like with the rotation, you can save out your explode animations. And they can be pretty cool looking as well. Some of the cool things you can do when saving out as a photo view 360 is add some motion blur down here. So when things move, they give you a little blur effect. And I've already done that with another video. And I'll go ahead and just show that to you real quick as well. All right. You can see here we got a little vice part, does a rotation and explodes. And we'll go back together. And then at the end, that spins and gives you a little bit of a motion blur there. We'll go ahead and jump right back to that last part. And you can see that when it spins, it had that motion blur. So SOLIDWORKS gives you some pretty cool options built within its main tool to help you create some pretty neat animations. Sometimes just to figure out how assemblies fit together and work, and other times used for promotional images and trying to sell a product. So hopefully you've learned a little bit about the Animation Wizard here and learned some more things you can do with your SOLIDWORKS models. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.